Wysteria, energy, twister. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is called The Sensitive Woman. There are days on which I am a thunderstorm, and days on which I am an eggshell. Today, I am so fragile that if you breathed on me, I would break apart. The pieces of me would lie on the kitchen floor, over the hard grey tiles, my torso in fragments, my heart's like a shattered cup. One eye near the sink, one eye near the refrigerator, staring upward, blinking. There is a story about a sensitive woman, that she could be bruised by the brush of a swallow's wing, that the cold light of the moon would burn her cheek. There is a story about a woman who wept at the fall of a rose petal, at the sight of a spider's web, at a line from Keats' Ode to a Nightingale. There is a story about a woman who could not be consoled when she heard a single measure of Brahms or watched the sun setting over Budapest. Her tears flowed into the Danube. There are days on which I am all these women. I would like to write a poem comparing myself to a thunderstorm raging down the valleys, battering the rocks, flattening the willow trees. But today, a raindrop could drown me. Today, a breeze could tear me apart, send ragged bits of me flying, like white tufts of milkweed from the pod. Hush, don't breathe, don't speak. Handle me gently. Today, a word of yours, no matter how kind, would be too hard to bear. The end. The next is called The Bear's Wife. I went to the bear's house reluctantly. My father would have a pension for his old age, my mother a pantry filled with food for winter. My brothers would go to school. My little sister, all she wanted, she said, was a dolly of her very own. I went dutifully, like a good daughter. In the bear's house there were carpets with dim, rich colours, from Isfahan, and mahogany furniture, and brocade curtains. More bedrooms than I could count. A ballroom in which I was the only dancer. A library filled with books, and electric lights. But I chose a candle to see him by the bear. My husband. The wax dripped. He woke, reproaching me, and it was gone. House, carpets, furniture, curtains, books, even the emptiness of empty rooms. I was alone in the forest. If I returned to my father's house, they would greet me with cakes and wine. My mother would draw me aside. This is what comes of marrying a bear, she would say. But now it's over. You can live a normal life. Marry again, have children that are not bears. Become a respectable woman. There was a path back to my father's house. Instead, I turned toward the pathless forest, knowing already what the choice entailed. Walking up glass mountains in iron shoes, riding winds to the corners of the earth, answering ogres' riddles, and at the end, the bear, my husband, whom I barely knew. And yet, I walked into the dangerous trees, knowing it was my life, knowing I chose it over safety, maybe over sanity, because it was mine, because it was my life. The bear's daughter. She dreams of the south, wandering through the silent castle, where snow has covered the parapets and the windows are covered with frost, with panes of island glass. She dreams of pomegranates and olive trees. But to be the bear's daughter is to be a daughter as well of the north, To have forgotten a time before the tips of her fingers were blue, before her veins were blue like rivers flowing through fields of ice. To have forgotten a time before her boots were elk leather lined with ermine. Somewhere in the silent castle, her mother is sleeping in the bear's embrace and breathing pomegranates into his fur. She is a daughter of the south, with hair like honey and skin like orange flowers. She's a nightingale's song in the olive groves, and a daughter wandering through the empty garden, where the branches of yew trees rubbing against each other sound like broken violins, dreams of the south white. A cold winter sways the privet, takes off her gloves, which are lined with mine, and places her hands on the rim of the fountain, in which the sun has scattered its colours, like roses trapped in ice. The next, in the Snow Queen's castle, 1K. Kay waits in the castle of ice, sitting at the centre of a lake made of ice, surrounded by the pieces of a puzzle also made of ice. Everything in the Snow Queen's castle is frozen. Everything is cold. Everything is blue with cold, including Kay himself. Although he still has a small fire around his heart, you can see it through his translucent blue chest. It's almost flickered out. He still remembers what she told him when she drove past in her sleigh drawn by 7 white reindeer. How do you know that you are truly loved? If I took you now to my castle made of ice, where the northern lights flicker above my bedroom, where it's so cold your breath would turn to frost, would anyone try to rescue you? Gerda would come, he told her. Gerda loves me. She would always come, even if she lost her shoes, even by foot over Finland. The Snow Queen threw back her head, and brittle laughter broke in the air, falling to the ground like snowflakes, each perfectly different from every other. No one is loved like that, my dear. Not even you, with your blue eyes, so sincere, your brown hair arching over your forehead like a pair of swallow's wings. I'll prove it to you, he said, hitching his sleigh to hers. A moment later, they were flying. Now he sits on the lake of ice, trying to solve the puzzle she set him, which is supposed to spell the word eternity, but shattered long ago into frozen shards. Indecipherable. If you can put it together again, she told him, I will give you a pair of skates and you can return to Copenhagen, which is, he thinks, the only way he will ever leave the Snow Queen's castle. He's realising what a stupid boy he has been to think anyone loved him as much. Even Gerda, who is no doubt still at home, learning how to embroider various flowers on linen from a grandmother. He knows no one will come, and the fire in his chest, the small bit of fire that is left around his heart, will eventually flicker out. Number 2. Gerda. Damn him, Gerda thinks, standing in the front hall of the Snow Queen's castle, her feet frostbitten, from walking over Finland. Perhaps she should never have come. Perhaps she should have left him with that bleached strumpet. She sighs and walks forward on aching feet, to rescue the boy with blue eyes and hair like swallow wings. The end. And that's the end of this set, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's great how we get to see the different perspectives. I like that. I like to see the difference. Thank you for listening, and many blessings. Wysteria. Energy. Twister.